Hello and welcome to Open Stutter. I'm here today with Daniele Rossi, cartoonist extraordinaire, I would call you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. And I'm delighted to talk with him about his stuttering journey, his books, which I have two in front of me right now. Stuttering is Cool, which I use all the time in therapy, and his latest book, which is Draw Your Stutter. There we go, Draw Your Stutter. And he's got a later version of it, which he'll show you with a different, there we go, Stuttering is Cool, different cover. Yeah.
Or if you speak French,
Oh, there we
you have it in
go.
French too?
Bégayer, c'est cool. Yeah. And he's going to be talking about his books and his workshops and the impact that they have had on not only children and young children and teens who stutter, but adults too. And the impact of these cartooning workshops on everybody, not only people who stutter, but the speech language therapists who join these workshops and what they learn. I've been impressed
Wow.
with learning their stories and how they've changed and
Oh.
their perspectives on therapy as well.
Mm.
So I'm just going to start out by reminding you, Daniele, that we bonded, if you remember, about our mutual anxiety about presenting in French at the APB, the Association Parole Bégaiement in Paris. Do you remember that? I think it was
Oh, different. You're
2016.
mixing. You're mixing geographic places
Oh, was it
and
Canada?
associations. Yeah.
Oh, it's Canada.
It
Tell me
would have
which
been
one it was.
amazing also to meet in Paris.
Okay, I thought
Yeah,
we met in Paris. Yeah,
Association Bégaiement Communication
yeah,
in
in
Montreal. It was a conference,
Montreal. Okay.
and you had no reason to be worried about presenting. You spoke French so fluently, and I don't mean that in a non-stuttering way. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. As a Canadian, I should know this. When
I
I
remember we
presented,
were
I think it
looking
was
at
the
each
year,
other. Yeah, we were looking at each other like, we can't do this. We can't do this. And I got up there
well,
and
you
did it.
did.
And then
And
you
I
just,
have broken French, very, very rusty French. I'm like, let's see what happens.
I know, but I remember we were sort of
Kudos to
like,
you.
we were the two there that were like, what are we doing here? We really presented in French. And we were stepping out of our comfort zone. And I always
And
talk,
you did a fantastic job.
well, so did you.
There were
Yeah.
a lot of takeaways. Yeah. And I was in awe going, wow, I wish I knew French that well. My gosh, he's amazing. Like you could pass off as a native speaker. So
Oh, what?
yeah.
Remember the year? I'm just curious. No,
No, I don't remember
I
the
don't either.
year.
Yeah, it was,
I remember you asking, but don't all Canadians speak French fluently? And I just laughed and laughed and laughed.
yeah, my
We
naive.
should, like in my opinion, it would be. I mean, we do learn it in school, but yeah, it's you have to keep it in practice, blah blah blah. But that's yeah, not why we're here.
Oh, no, but that was just a fun fact.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, talk about, I would love to hear a little bit about your stuttering journey.
yeah,
So, listeners and people who are watch our YouTube channel can understand a little bit about you and how you came to cartooning and was able to take your stuttering experience and turn it into something that has been so impactful for others.
yeah. First, I just want to say I never would ever have imagined making any impact whatsoever when I combined comics and stuttering. I've been stuttering and drawing comics since I was a kid. Ever since I can remember, it was always my dream to be a syndicated newspaper comic strip artist, cartoonist, whatever the term is. I was that kid, I'm sure as many kids. Um, I read Peanuts, Garfield, whatever. Um, and yeah, it was always my dream. So to give a bit of a time context, um, so that would be like late 70s throughout the 80s, the 90s. Um, however, yeah, and yeah, I always enjoyed drawing my own comics, watching animated cartoons, Looney Tunes. Always loved comedy, humor, and that's what you find in my comics. Stuttering, on the other hand, a different story. I grew up um, with the messages, well-meaning, from society saying hide your, no, stuttering is to be hidden, hide your stuttering. Um, I avoided speaking situations altogether, switched words. I mean, I'm sure you and your audience have heard all of the stories. Um, uh, like, it's very common, right? The common story across people who stutter. Um, and not sure how I managed to go through life doing that. It's very hard, right? You're thinking ahead, 7 steps ahead, maybe trying to trick someone into saying it for you, pretending, oh, what was the name again where I live, that city with the tower? You mean Toronto? Like, just, those avoidance techniques that always backfire, and which, of course, only compounded things worse, even more. Um, and it wasn't until 2006. Actually, wait, I should probably mention I did have speech therapy a few times. It was speech therapy where no, stop, think about what you want to say, take a deep breath, speak slowly. Yeah, fat chance for someone like me. Boop, 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 Um, and unfortunately, I thought it was a cure. For some reason, I had it in my head that stuttering was a cure. Um, so I always blamed myself for still stuttering. Um, which, looking back today, what a crazy thing to think, right? Even to a point, I wanted to become a speech therapist when I went to university, and I believe, well, no, I can't be a speech therapist if I still stutter. Like, look how crazy that sounds. But
Well,
back then, it made
back
sense in
then,
my head.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I am making full circle with my comics because SLPs have been using it in therapy sessions. And chances are I probably wouldn't have gotten good grades in university because when I try to read the research today, I'm like, um, so, but I digress. 2007, when I went to Paris, first went to Paris, I think that was around, it wasn't in Paris, but it was around, actually, no, 2000. So it was a year before. I was looking for a new job. I wasn't really happy where I was. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to take speech therapy because I'm going on job interviews. But something kept stopping me aside from laziness to go and drive after dinner, after work, for speech therapy. But there was something that kept stopping me, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was strange. Like, why? I don't get it. Um, I should also mention I was the only one in my life that I knew who stuttered as well. So back in those days, long before the internet came to be, right? You don't meet others who stuttered. And when I did, the very rare chance I did, I never brought it up. I never asked like I never even thought you could do that. Um, and so fast forward 2006, trying to look for speech therapy. So the year after was when I started no listening to podcasts, right? And it was at that time I did have another podcast that was all about comics I was drawing. So I was drawing comics. If you want to see them, I still have the website up. They're kind of frozen in time. 2011 was my last update, I think it was. Superspud.com. Spud does make an appearance in one of my later graphic novels.
Yeah.
So this is the follow. This is Tales of Mischief, Mayhem, and Mirth. I'm trying to not make the blur happen. I
Yeah.
really got to get myself a cool background. Yeah, so he's an alien, like a like a moon creature. I'm not even gonna bother trying to make it unblur. But yeah. So
I have a question for you just
mhm,
about, this is sort of the most obvious, maybe naive question. When we think about somebody who, grows up with stuttering and someone who hides and doesn't, the
mm,
typical profile of somebody who's not, is trying to, suppress it and hide it. Was was cartooning an outlet for verbal expression for you or expression of some sort, or am I
mm.
projecting on that?
I think it was just something fun for me to
Okay.
do
Yeah.
and something aspirational.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna be the next Chuck Jones, the next, Walt Disney or whatever it is, the next Bill Watterson. Um, uh, yeah, just something that I enjoy doing. But you'd think I never had a starring character before. Very weird. You'd
Yeah.
think, someone who enjoyed technology. I very rarely looked up stuttering. Weird. Like looking back, why didn't I ever, So 2006, 2007 was when I got my answer. Oh, right. I was talking about a podcast I had called Spudcast because that alien character is named Spud. Um, and I would actually edit out my stutter. I would record over and over, spend 3 hours editing on my stutter until one day when I actually thought to myself, if I ever become famous, right? And I'm interviewed, I can't ask them to edit, stutter, or retake. Something's gotta change. And maybe a week after that or something, I discovered the Stutter Talk podcast where they were talking, and that might have been like episode 11 at the time, the very early days. But it was the concept of having friends who stuttered as well that blew my mind. The idea of something called a support group for people that exists for people who stutter. I thought support groups was only for people who got divorced because of that TV show Dear John, if you remember. Um, or you hear about AA. I didn't think you'd have a support group for stutter because I guess stuttering wasn't important, right? Enough to have a support group. Hearing about something called the National Stuttering Association and chapter meetings and a conference, I'm like, this is what I needed.
Yeah.
Not speech therapy. Like, not that I was knocking speech therapy. I'm like, no, I need
Yeah.
to meet others that stuttered. And at the time, Facebook was just released. Twitter was just, there was maybe 5 groups. One of them was called Stuttering is Cool because the main one was called I Hate Stuttering. I joined it not because I didn't hate my stutter, but I'm like, hey, let me see what I can. Then someone created one called Stuttering is Cool. When the idea of making a podcast called Stuttering is Cool came up, I asked the creator, would you mind if I called it that? Not sure if the group still exists, but that was a big turning point, and I started um, stuttering more, like taking steps out of my comfort zone at work, seeing what works. Yes, I still chickened out, but I would grow each time, baby steps. And that's really what my podcast was about, hearing other people that stuttered on, Stutter Talk, for example. So I launched my podcast. One, to share this idea of, oh my God, you can, it's okay to stutter. And two, to meet others who stuttered in my area. I know it's weird using a worldwide media to meet people in your immediate area. But take it what you will. I didn't think it would last 4 episodes because I figured no one's gonna, like at the time you could call in or record feedback to let others to stutter as well. Because I realized hearing others that stuttered on that show, hearing myself stutter um, on my podcast really did help in
Yeah.
terms of this isn't too bad. The stuttering isn't too bad. Or catching myself when I'm going to do a secondary. Not that's bad to do a secondary, but I use secondary sometimes as a crutch and I wanted to eliminate that. I use it as a way to practice what's the best way that works for me in telling people that I stutter in a job interview, conversation at work, whatever. And everything changed after that. And it was inevitable comics were going to come in at yeah, at that time. And I don't know. I don't know what year it was. Maybe so 2013 was when I worked on my Stuttering is Cool book.
Yeah.
So maybe a few years
2014,
before.
2014, right? Yeah. Is when,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe a year or so before that was when I started drawing Franky Banky comics, and it blew my mind. The minute I uploaded my first Franky Banky comic, well, not the minute, but like no, the next day, I got an email from someone in India saying I printed it out and it's hanging in my cubicle wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, that's nothing. But
Yeah. Yeah.
back then, whoa,
Yeah.
someone on the other side of the planet? What? And I didn't need a publishing company.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
I think a lot
that's
of
yeah.
people listening might be really curious. I'm impressed with the notion that you found community, which, we know today is very,
That too still blows my mind.
yeah, you found community, and on your own, you were able
Mm,
to make decisions and take risks that helped you to eliminate struggle behavior, begin to
Mm,
self-disclose, reduce secondary behaviors. All of these really, what I consider to be really healthy moves toward comfort
that is
and
true. I never
confidence.
thought of it that way. Yeah.
And you did it all on your own. And so that really impresses me that when
Mm,
people can come to this on their own through community, because sometimes people in the community also want to hide and conceal and fix.
yeah.
But somehow you found community and that motivated you to become more open. So
It
interesting.
goes back to your question, was my drawing comics like a creative expression or that kind of, way to cope? Um, to be honest, all it was me going, it'll be so cool if I drew a comic of Frankie Banky flipping on a banana peel and going boom, ha ha ha, post it without realizing. Like I tend to not see, what is it? I don't see the forest for the trees kind of thing. Sometimes you just got to make something, see what happens. You never know what could happen. Like in my first, actually in all of my books, except the yellow one, I'm not going to attempt to show it because it's too tiny, but my page numbers are written as a stutter, for example. That one, that idea I left at the end. I thought, I don't know, I was on the fence. Is it offensive? Is it this? Because, like you said, some people on social media, they may not like that. In fact, I got a lot of hate mail. How dare you call your
Really?
podcast stuttering is cool? Which,
No,
in
it's
hindsight,
funny. Yeah,
yeah,
I loved the page numbers. That was what I noticed that immediately and loved it. Yeah.
yeah, that was a bold move. And speaking of impact, not realizing that actually became discussion starters in therapy sessions. That's what some therapists have told me. A lot of comics, it's just like is it okay if I say fart? The fart joke that I have, where Frankie Banky is sitting on a park bench or a bus stop at the bus stop thinking to himself, a pretty girl, comes by and he's thinking to himself, "Oh, I'm gonna stutter. Oh no, this and this and this." And then he's just about, okay, I'm gonna pluck at my girl. I'm gonna take this chance. And then she lets one rip. It
Yeah.
was just, it's just a fart joke, just to say, hey, everybody's got something, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
one of the biggest impact.
so
Yeah,
transition now.
comics.
Yeah, you just showed a little bit about Frankie Banky. Talk
Mm.
about Frankie Banky, the character.
Oh
Maybe
yeah. Well, I'm glad
also,
you brought that up.
yeah, let's
I
talk
almost
about
forgot.
Frankie Banky, and also let's talk about Tiger or Tiger.
Yeah,
Yeah, I say Tiger,
sure.
putting the block in there.
Oh, telephone.
So yeah, talk a little bit about the characters.
Yeah. So so going back to the idea, there are some people who may not like the idea of say acceptance, starting overtly, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so I do play a bit of a balance game, like how much can I'm not sure how to word this. Can I create a stuttering joke, right? Especially in this medium like social media where there's no context. Because the last thing I want to do is create even more misconceptions
Right.
about stuttering.
Mhm.
So Frankie Banky, my approach with Frankie Banky has been he's an example, a role model, an example of another option if you want to try taking steps out of your comfort zone. So maybe I could share
Yeah.
if I have a
Is he kind of autobiographical
comic.
or is he?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why he's a bit of a boring character, I think, because he's just me and that's it. Like there's like I haven't really sat down to say, okay, I want a character with depth and suffering and his weakness is this and all that. I just draw for the fun of it.
Why a
So maybe,
fox? Why a
huh?
fox?
Oh, a
Frank.
fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no rhyme or reason behind a fox. So Frankie Banky, I had designed a couple of years prior to even knowing what stuttering overtly meant. Um, Back in the late 90s, I had a friend in Italy who, well, no, I mean, we are still friends, a programmer, and he and a couple of his friends, developer friends, were trying to create something like an eBay, um, and called Fox in Web for some reason. And they need a Fox cartoon character. I tried to draw and I couldn't do it. but it bugged me for the next year or so. So every so often I would draw a fox character, and one day, poof, um, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm drawing comics. Normal people are sleeping at 2 in the morning, and I'm drawing comics. So here's a very crude picture of Franky Banky, or the early version of Franky Banky. I colored in his fur. Um, and you could see, so going back to he exudes confidence or in his language, even though he still worries about stuttering. So in this case, he's ordering coffee. And all the caricatures are friends of mine. So you probably know some of them. You probably recognize maybe kind of Mitch Trishon standing in line. Not sure if you could see my mouse. Do you know David Resnick? So that's him here. He came out well. He came out well.
Yeah.
That's Jodie Fuller, comedian who stutters. And yeah, oh, this is Wilhelmina, Spud's girlfriend.
Oh
So
my
another
God.
blast from the past.
Oh my God.
Um, yeah, so he's in the coffee shop ordering coffee, and that whole anxiety of other people in line are hearing me, the time pressure, So in this case, someone yelling, "Hurry up, I haven't got all day," making fun of the stuttering, "Hurry up, just write it down." Um, and then, Frankie Banky here says, "Oh, time for some stuttering vengeance." By the way, I should probably mention to viewers, yeah, you're probably noticing what's all this text around it. This is actually an excerpt from the book. And I added side notes along the side of the comic. So it's kind of interactive, low tech interactive, where you have to turn the book to read the text. But in any case, the punchline is Frankie Banky purposely stutter. He purposely stutters on purpose. That doesn't even make sense. So some voluntary stuttering there. And he says, actually, I'm going to pay for everyone's order, everyone who's standing in line behind me, except that one over there, that woman over there making fun of me. That joke actually I didn't come up with it myself. It came up during a Stutter Social session, which I co-founded with David Resnick and Mitch Trishon. Um, and yeah, so it gives that. Not sure if people would actually do this in real life, but it gives that option. Hey, I can have a sense of humor about my stuttering. And Tiger, here's
Well,
another one.
let me
Oh,
just comment on
sure.
that one because I think there's so much there. So
I
first of
know,
all,
eh? I never realized how much I packed in a comic.
yeah,
That's what I mean. I
so
just have a
many
gag and
ideas.
I'll just draw it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, first of all, we've got the notion of the real lived experience where somebody has anxiety about ordering their coffee.
Mm.
So such a common experience. And even alone, if somebody were to see that who never interacted with somebody else who stuttered and said, "Hey, somebody else has anxiety ordering coffee. I'm not
Ah,
alone."
that's
So
right.
just relating to somebody who can resonate with that lived experience. And then the notion of getting your stuttering out there, even as a joke, sort of revenge, to get it out. And then and then having this interaction in line about your stuttering, which people would say, there's no way I would ever do that, but taking that risk and sort of the
Mm.
fantasy of what I could do if I were to really advocate for myself. So I mean, there are like 4 or 5 themes right in that one comic and I'm just saying this because for me as a therapist, that one comic can lead to so many positive discussions about
Mm.
future goals or what if or what I'm afraid to do or just the notion of common experiences and stigma and listener reactions. There's just so much there.
Yeah, and it's
So,
only like one page, really. I split it to 2 pages, but yeah, weird, eh? I didn't even realize that. And I'm the one that stutters. Go
but I'm the
figure,
one
eh?
who's like looking for things, for my clients, particularly comics are
Mm.
very appealing to children and teens because it brings it into a format that they're enjoying reading and I think also sharing the laugh together.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and that
I didn't
shared
even think of that.
experience is putting stuttering
Mm.
in the space. And I love the idea of putting stuttering in that space. And even if, let's say, a teen would print that out and put it in their room, being able to share that humor as a way
Mm,
of bringing up stuttering in the family.
that's
Um,
right.
just
That's right.
like opening up and letting somebody in your box, so to speak, through
Yeah.
humor. Yeah, there's so many good things about
Yeah, there is a story. I forget who told me about it, where someone's mother. So I think it an SLP student who happened to stutter. I think that's what it was. Her mother stuttered but never talked about it. She hated the stuttering. So my book, Stuttering School, is used as a textbook or required reading in about 11 universities across North America. The number probably decreased a bit, but I don't know if they still offer, but I know a few still do. And she happened to see the book and she goes, "What the hell?" 'Cause she sees Stuttering School, "What the hell is that?" Or "What the heck is this?" And it actually started a conversation
yeah,
with the mother and the daughter, and it ended well,
yeah.
which, okay.
And
Like,
even if it didn't end well, just
yeah,
starting the conversation, what a great way to start the conversation.
yeah,
A
because I
lot of people
never,
to do it this way, stuttering is cool, then like how to stop your stutter book. Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's no judgment. It's neutral. Um, and it's very, what's the word? Like I keep looking this way because I have my books here. I keep looking at it. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Not disarming. Like it's safe. It's
Yeah.
secure. It's just a book. It's a comic. And it's a non-offensive one, well, depending in this case. So
But it's
yeah,
an
yeah.
entry. It's an entry
Mm,
to a discussion. It's
mm,
opening up the topic because there's this conspiracy of silence where we don't talk about stuttering in the family.
that's
And
right.
and
Just like
having
I did.
yeah, having an entry is, sort of an entry, especially a positive entry that stuttering is cool.
Hmm.
What? Yeah. So yeah, we can look at stuttering a little differently. So
Yeah.
I love that as a way that people can start bringing stuttering into the conversations in their family, and into their relationships as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were about to talk about Tiger.
Tiger. Yeah. So
Love
let
the
me open
analogy
up.
behind that one. So talk about the analogy.
Tiger
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah.
Time to share. Unfortunately, I didn't invent it. I wish I did. So this is actually from my website. It's the best way to present it. Uh, so tiger. So first, tiger. It's spelled as a stutter. And oh, looks like I gotta fix my website. There we go. Forever immortalized on video. It's available in different languages to download. So this was actually so the tiger character was designed after a friend of mine, which many people know, I think, Dr. Gregory Snyder, stuttering researcher in the United States. One day, I think it's 16 years ago, because I drew a comic of him learning how to drive. In Canada, it's the legal driving age of 16. Um, in any case, Tiger is a metaphor for Frankie Banky stuttering, and his characteristics, Tiger, is based off of my stutter. Um, the Greg story, he was at a zoo where you could pay to play with the baby tigers. They're safe enough that you're not going to get mauled or anything. Um, but he noticed every time he turned his back on a baby tiger, it would try to pounce on him, but it couldn't. Every time he faced it, it would back down. So he saw an analogy with this. So would you like me to read through it or just a very quick?
Yeah, go
Um,
ahead. Yeah, I love
okay.
this one. I use this analogy because
Thank you.
I love the notion of, facing your fear is very different than turning your back on fear and avoiding it. So
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, right. And then I love the analogy so much that I created a tiger character. And then back then, this 2009? Twitter was not as bad. Actually, social media in general wasn't as much of a garbage fire as it is today. So I crowdsourced, hey, what name would you give it? So that's where tiger came in. So let's say we have a ferocious tiger that represents our stuttering. Your tiger and your stuttering are one and the same. You can try to lock the tiger in a closet, but he's too powerful for the door, so he bursts through it. He will pounce on you and ruthlessly kick your butt. It won't work if you try to deal with the ferocious tiger by turning your back on him. He'll continue to kick your butt. You think to yourself, the tiger's not there? Ow, tiger's not there? Ow. Covering up your stutter doesn't seem to work, so you turn to face the tiger. I should probably center that. It may be scary, but you confront him. You may get beat down at first, but you don't let that tiger make your decisions. Slowly, your tiger begins to lose its power over you, and you begin to experience more peace and control over your life. Um, and stuttering used to make you afraid of talking, but as your tiger gets weaker, you'll be more in control of yourself and your speech. You now have the tiger on a leash and you walk around town. Your fear of stuttering is now minimal. Excuse me. You may even go up to people and stutter on purpose. Hey, do you want to see my tiger? And you reach a point where you're actually okay with it. And you start showing him off. You take the tiger back off the leash and you're petting him. When you face the animal can back down. When you face stuttering, it is so much easier to manage than when you turn your back on it. So that's tiger in a nutshell. And that's the analogy. Yeah, fantastic.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Again, I wish I was the one that came up with it. But that's part of the comics pro or the creative process. You get ideas from anywhere.
Yeah.
They can come at you at, I don't know, like I'm walking down the street and a leaf falls and boom, I have a gag for a comic.
But it's
You
so
know?
beautiful that, Greg came up with the idea from his lived experience and how he saw it, and then you brought it to life through the character in the book, through cartooning, and then people like me can use that analogy to encourage others to create
Mm,
their own analogies that are meaningful to them and allow them to face fears
yeah,
and lean in rather than turn your back. And I love that whole idea of leaning in.
yeah. And
There's a
that's what I
chain
did. Yeah.
reaction there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what happened. Like somebody told the Stutter Talk folk, or they learned from someone else. Then I listened. Then I told someone else, and so on. And so, like that old 80s commercial, very obscure. Look it up on YouTube. I'm sure the commercial's there. Shampoo. We told two friends. And yeah, in any case,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Gen
Yeah.
X joke.
Yeah. And again, what surprises me the most, Daniele, is that on your own, without therapy that's necessarily stutter affirming,
Oh,
you were able
I
to
came up with this.
stutter affirming messages in your books. Um,
Mm,
and I've always been impressed with that 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 evolution. That's why I asked about your stuttering journey, um,
ah,
because so many people struggle with shifting the narrative of their own stutter to something that they want to hide and suppress and conceal, to something that is actually pretty okay to show.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love the notion of walking down the street with Tiger, um, and letting Tiger be there with you. Um,
Playing the theme to
yeah,
Staying Alive. Yeah.
yeah,
That I would attribute to my upbringing. Because throughout my life, I also have anxiety issues. And if you read between the lines of Starting is Cool, it's pretty much a social anxiety book too. Um, and my upbringing has always been like my parents always encouraged me, well, why are you afraid? There's no reason to be afraid. Like I was afraid of everything and anything,
yeah.
growing up, and I'm losing my train of thought. Oh yeah, so as I became a teenager and such, like, well, I gotta survive. I gotta find a job. Something's gotta change. I don't know. I can't just be quiet. I can't back down. Like I can't be a coward in this because I need to survive. So that's where all that came from. And the drive to draw comics was just there, something fun I wanted to do. Even the podcast, me really, like, why would I want to be or work in a radio station? Despite all that what I grew up stuttering, I was a kid that would record himself, take out the tape recorder, me and my cousins, let's record ourselves, right? um I don't know, it just happened, and I'm glad people like my stuff, because when I wrote my book Stuttering School, that was more of a way to let new listeners of my podcast not have to listen to 150 episodes at the time. to go through everything, to get everything. I thought, okay, this will be a nice quick way. Plus, I made a very illustrative too, combining comics and such. Um, I mentioned the low key or the low tech interactivity. It was also a portfolio piece too, because I was looking for work as a graphic designer.
Just
It's
to
a
share,
win-win.
yeah, just to
Sorry.
share my one of my favorite parts of Stuttering is Cool is the page with the nine types of stutterers, which had me laughing hysterically.
I'm
I
so
just want you
glad.
to let you know that that really tickled me, types of stutterers, because I go, oh my God, this is so true. This is so
Did
true.
you notice the overzealous stutter?
Noticed all
Stutterer?
of them. They're great. Yeah.
It's the caricature of me.
Oh, is that you? Oh, I didn't know which
Because
one
at
was
the
you.
beginning,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because
Okay.
at the beginning where I compare myself then and now as a kid with stuttering, it's the same drawing of me
Oh
now.
my
So
goodness.
that's what that was.
Yeah.
So I make fun of myself because yeah, so uh, I became overzealous about this. This is amazing acceptance, and it was a hard lesson to learn, but a very good one. Not everybody wants it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
But
avoid
sometimes you
dogma.
have to go overboard that so the pendulum can swing back. And so I
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
I notice that all the time. So tell, you went from writing about it and cartooning about it and podcasting and all of your amazing changes. Um, what gave you the idea that teaching others to cartoon could
Mm,
be beneficial and could
yeah,
actually aid in other people's stuttering journeys?
yeah. That I learned as I did them. Again, hey, this sounds like fun. Let's do it. I was actually asked by Melanie. Oh my gosh, I have her middle name in my head. I should know this. Melanie Rogers. I'm so sorry if you're listening. So, back in 2000 and would it be 14? I have 14 in my head, could be even be 15. I think she was in charge of children's programming at the NSA conference. So this would have been maybe my third NSA. And she had asked me, hey, would you like to give a cartooning workshop? I've never taught before. I know not the only thing I know about teaching was whatever I experienced in high school and elementary school. Um, so yeah, basically I winged it. Yeah, we were just trying comics. Hey, let's just have some fun drawing
Mhm, mhm.
comics. Um, and I approached it from not like I'm not their teacher, I'm not their parent. These kids are on vacation because it happens in July. They have no reason to listen to me. I'm just the other adult in the room. Melanie was there with me because she knows how to handle kids. I'm just a single guy without kids. Um, and yeah, we just had a wild time, a blast. And I did it again and again, year after year. Ventured out. Let's try with the adults. Very different with the adults. The children don't need much teaching with comics until one day um, I drew a comic for Stamma. Back then, they were British Stammering Association, where I drew a Franky Banky comic based on my own, uh, again, a real experience in high school. It was a painful one to remember, to recall. It was one of those regrets that just hurt for 30 years. So I drew that one, um, and it was out of character for Franky Banky to end up feeling let down. And in fact, I could even show you the comic. Um, because this was a turning point. I have it here, share, and yeah, let's press play. Um, yeah, so long story short, I had this was grade 10, high school, second year high school, moved to a new city, new school. We took the school bus. Had a hard time making friends because they thought I was in grade nine. So I was with the grade nines all the time, not with my own peers. Not that I was an age snob, but that was a weird year where the grade nines were vastly different from the grade tens. In any case, had made some good friends with the grade nines regardless. But I'd missed the bus. One day, a friend of mine who happened to have changed schools with me by coincidence. His bus went a few blocks north of me. So I snuck on his bus. I got to meet his friend, was a very pretty girl. And you can see here in the third row, why do I know Frankie Banky is stuttering a lot because I couldn't say, "What is your name?" That was a hard one for me to say growing up, to say, "What is your name?" I would stutter a lot. So sometimes I would meet people without even knowing what their names were. I would avoid it. Um, Long story short, this is what happened. She thought I was weird, and it didn't like after that. You know, she looked at me like, okay, and turned to my friend and just continued the conversation the rest of the 40-minute bus ride with him. And I was mortified, even though she still said hi to me. We still talked, but I stuttered, right? Um, After I drew this, suddenly I'm like, oh, like it felt good to
Yeah.
draw this because I realized I was just a kid. Because at that age, you need to fit in. If only I knew back then what I knew now. The messaging was different, so I created a an alternate ending for the blog because that's what Frankie Banky comics are. So if I had known then, I would, yeah, I would probably still say, now's not the time to stutter because, but hey, whatever. And my name is Frankie Banky and I stutter. What are you good at? For example, make it into, hey, it's just something that I do
Yeah.
because fluent people take the cues from us. That's what I learned later on in my mid 30s, you know. Yeah.
So imagine, so here's an idea from therapy because that's what I do. Imagine somebody taking those two cartoons
Hmm.
and then talking to somebody who has an experience that they are very, that has been impactful in a negative way, and having them write an alternative ending. Um, what a great therapeutic activity even if they never they can't go back and change it, but the idea that they can decide something that they might do going forward, even if it's
Yeah.
so out of their experience and not they're not ready to do it, just to be able to imagine
Yeah.
saying something like that.
And
Imagine
that's
saying, "Hey, what's your superpower?" or "What are you good at?" Um, uh,
yeah.
I love that contrast of changing the ending as a therapy activity. Um,
And
really,
that worked very well in the adult or the workshops I give to adults. There's one great story. She must have been in her late 70s and a public speaker even. And I was surprised to know, wait, what? You were nervous about an upcoming speech you have to give? Because she was giving it to her peers, people that she looked up to. And she drew the scene of her giving a speech in front of them. And all of a sudden she goes, oh my gosh, I have nothing to worry about. She just boom, light bulb. And I'm like, whoa. Again, yeah, that's how I got started. And then um, as the years went by, the amount of time I was given to give a comic strip workshop shrunk down to an hour, which isn't much time. Like it's okay, but I have to really rush through it, especially when people ask, would you like a drawing session? Because kids like doing draw-alongs. So last year I came up with the idea of drawing a cartoon character out of your stutter, just like I did with Tiger. And that's been very well, and which led to, yeah, Draw Your
I'm just going
Stutter,
to
my
show
Draw
you
Your
something. I
Stutter
love
book.
this
Yeah.
page in Draw Your Stutter because it reminds me of me. You mentioned in the book that there have been other approaches like drawing on the right side of your brain. And I remember back in those days in like the 1970s thinking that I'm so left-brained, that's why I can't draw anything.
Yeah.
And I saw this page and I said,
Anybody
oh
can
my
draw.
goodness, if I had this, that would have really helped me.
That came out of an SOP after. Just to back up a bit, I gave the workshop at Stamma Fest, for example. I gave maybe three last year, but Stamma Fest, so that was August, was okay. Here's the refined version. Let me see what happens. Filled the room, never happened. About maybe 50 people, maybe more. Didn't really count. And the stuff people drew, I thought we were gonna draw bunnies and dogs and duckies. Maybe someone will draw a tiger with a hat. people drew really profound stuff because I give them a chance to present, just like with the comics. And and then afterwards, one of the speech therapists asked me, "Could you create something?" No, I have a slide where I show that here's how you draw because I left it up while people were drawing. Like here's how you draw a happy face, here's how you draw a body. Um, and the SLP said, "Could you send me a copy of that? 'Cause I would love to have that in a speech therapy session because I don't know how to draw." Because suddenly SLPs have to become an art teacher too. So that's where that came from in that book. Okay, let me draw. And then there's also like a fun section which I stole from other graphic novels for kids. Here's how you draw the character. Here's how you draw another character, and all that. And
So much,
yeah, the entire time it's like, yeah, there's so much that goes on
and
in
it brings people in,
thinking about
you
the
know.
characteristics of your study. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it brings people in at any level. You don't have to be artistic. You don't have to feel
That's right.
confident as an artist or, because even the people who say, I can't draw can come in and have a wonderful time. So I
Yeah.
think that it's so inclusive. I love,
And you can convey so much even with a stick figure.
yeah.
So just like stuttering, you don't have to be a perfect artist to draw something, right? We all have a different style. Like I cannot draw Marvel. I'm more like, the Dogman style. And look, Dogman is like the number one seller in the world. He beats Marvel, manga, and Disney, which is phenomenal. So I have hope.
Yeah. This is really good stuff. What are some of, I know that you receive mail from people all over the world. What are some of the unexpected um, outcomes or
Hmm.
benefits that you've learned that people get from either your workshops or reading your books? Is there
Yeah.
anything that stands out?
Unexpected. One that kids love to draw. When they love to draw, they really love to draw,
Mm.
which should not have been a surprise to me because that's me. And by that I mean like when I receive messages from, speech therapists saying, "Hey," or parents, "My son loves drawing." Um, then it becomes this little back and forth. Here's another drawing resource. Here's another, this is great stuff. Um, One story that blew my mind. So in my yellow book, Mischief, Mayhem, and Mirth, there's a scene where Franky Banky is interviewed on the radio, um, and he stutters. He doesn't stutter that much because I wanted to convey also stuttering doesn't always happen. It's not consistent. But I look back, I wish I made him stutter more. But the very fact that he did the radio interview, it inspired a 10-year-old boy to give his speech that week in his class about stuttering. He, on his own prompting, like he didn't, no one had, like he came up on that was his own idea. And then a few months later, he gave the same speech in front of his whole class, like his whole school
Yeah.
at the end of the
Oh, wow.
school
Wow.
year. And
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was convey, "Hey, Frankie Bangy talked on the radio." Never imagine that would happen. Another one, a friend of mine, her daughter doesn't stutter, but she loves Frankie Banky. And she starts drawing awareness comics on her own.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Um, with this, kids learn a lot from us grown-ups. And um I like that there is something I can, nurture in the kids because really that's how I got to here where I am now. I just enjoyed drawing. I just kept drawing. And thanks to social media, for example, and affordable digital technology and all that stuff, now I'm a publisher. Anybody can see it. I would have never have met any of these kids. I wouldn't have met you,
Hmm.
right? We wouldn't be having this conversation. I probably would still be hiding my stuttering somewhere, right? Um, so yeah, it's amazing how um, I don't know the times that we live in. Not sure about AI, but the times that we're living, yeah.
So I'm going to share my favorite contribution. You have a lot of
Oh, please do.
contributions from your workshops in Draw Your Stutter. And my favorite one that was contributed by Jacob. Um,
Oh,
the
yeah,
cloud. I'm not sure if people can see it. I don't know if you have it in another version, but there you go. You can kind of see the cloud. And for me, sometimes the cloud is stormy, and sometimes it's beautiful, and sometimes it's fluffy, and sometimes it's transparent, and sometimes there aren't any clouds at all. The
yeah,
variability of stuttering analogy there gives me the chills. I love it. And
yeah.
um, from this particular one,
Oh,
I would love just to talk about draw your stuttering cloud today. What does it look
oh, wow.
feel like?
Mm.
And whether and leave it open-ended. And is there lightning around it? Is it stormy? Is
Oh,
it
wow.
calm? Is it billowy? Um, and the notion that tomorrow can be completely different, and that's
That's
okay.
right. It could be partly
Yeah,
sunny. I never thought of that.
I love that
That
one.
would be like a stutter weather app.
Yeah.
Frankie Banky makes a stutter for weather app. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one to share? I'm just wondering because
Favorite one, I don't know.
yeah.
This one here. So let me share the screen is my own. I call this my only good joke. Um, and you can't even see Frankie Banky. So it's the Star Wars parody. So Frankie Banky dressed up as Darth Vader. Luke, I am your and he's trying to say, that famous line. And his friend dressed up as Luke Skywalker tries to guess the usual fiend. Is it full father? Whoa, I didn't expect that word. That came out of May the 4th one year. So May the 4th, the Star Wars Day. I'm not much of a Star Wars fan, but that everybody knows that famous scene. I'm like, okay, I gotta draw something. I gotta draw something for my social media. And that just poof popped in my head. Other times I have to really think hard for like a gag, and I can't because I find stuttering, or at least for me, tends to be difficult to find funny stories that won't offend or be taken the wrong way by people who don't stutter or don't get it, things like that. Um, so I'd say, yeah, this would be one of my favorites, that fart joke one
Yeah.
that I'd mention. Another one, because that's typical me growing up. Um, I don't know. There was one of the latest one. Actually, it is in the Draw Your Stutter book, but I have it here. This one I like. Uh, Here we go. This one I like because it shows Tiger's personality, which was also difficult for me to come up with a way to create a story with like both Frankie Banky and Tiger without like Tiger creates he's mischievous, he's unpredictable. I also added he likes to play practical jokes um, to his character. That was a recent, actually as recent as drawing this comic, because I didn't want. And so Tiger, just to back up a bit, is a character who causes trouble. He unintentionally caused trouble for Frankie Bingy. So like the Laurel to no Laurel and Hardy. That I know I'm not using modern contemporary current duels. I don't watch TV that much and movies, but I did watch the Dogman movie. Amazing. Um, but I didn't want to convey that stuttering is an issue because Tiger is just a sidekick, that annoying friend that causes trouble, but he doesn't mean to, but you're still friends, and that's what was a common thing that came out of the character design workshop from Stamma Fest, and my book Draw Your Stutter, is that many of the participants they entered the room with a negative perception of their stutter, but they walked out with a positive one. It's just a sidekick. It's my BFF. So this is a comic here based on a true story. I was crossing the street one day, a busy street downtown, going on my way to work. I see a friend crossing from the other side, and I'm trying to call out his name. Hey, but I got stuck on his name. Also starts with a D, just like I get stuck on mine. So as he's passing by, trying to catch his name, I'm laughing my head off. He's oblivious. Everyone else walked. There must have been like 50 people walking all around me in this busy downtown street. I chuckled. I waited till I got to work. I sent him a text message saying, "Okay, you wouldn't believe what just happened." But in this comic, yeah, he sees his girl. He trying to say Desiree, and all that time, Tiger, he tries to prevent Frankie Banky from speaking. You see, he's blocking his mouth, wraps his tail around his mouth. He peels off his stripes. I'm trying to be surreal too at the same time. Peels off his stripes to tape his mouth. But Frankie Banky still gets the best of him because I mean, it doesn't really show here, but he safely crosses the street. Kids, make sure you do that. Um, and he calls. So I didn't have him text the friend. I didn't want to convey texting better than calling. Um, Although who calls anymore? But
Right.
yeah. And then in the end, right? Tiger's practical joke didn't end up working. So that's my next plan. Okay, what other situations,
Yeah.
stutter-friendly situations I can get, the two into, which is my next book, which will be a book. Not centered around stuttering or his speech, just he happens to stutter, and that's it. They get into all these mishaps, misadventures. Hopefully, it'll be funny. And yeah.
Yeah. I love the idea that he's evolved to the idea that stuttering can be a part of his life and a part of his
Mm,
communication, and he continues to have adventures as a fox who stutters. And I love that one particularly because it sort of I think people can relate to the idea that even though you're desperately trying to get the word out, it
mm,
feels like you're being blocked, that you can't do it, that something's happening to you. It feels like you're being sabotaged. And I love to use that to get into the idea that
mm,
there's nobody holding your throat. There's no, there Tiger is not really holding you back. You know what I mean? And
mm.
so there are wonderful ways of bringing in, for me,
Oh,
therapeutic concepts through some of your cartoons. And so I really appreciate them. And I love this next project. I love the idea that we can start now instead of always keeping stuttering as something that is impacting you in negative ways that you have to sort of work around or figure out what to do with. It can be there, it can take space,
yeah,
it can be part of who you are and
yeah.
part of the adventures instead of having it here outside your sidekick who's screwing things up. It can be part of who you are and
Mhm.
and sort of okay just being there.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about what about for future, I can see like an animated movie. No?
Oh man, that's been one of my dreams. In fact, I even have a playlist that's my soundtrack for said movie. That's funny. Yeah, there are a few songs I'm like, that would make a great theme song, make great ending. I know who I'm gonna cast. Things like
Yeah.
that.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking that when I was going to
yeah,
ask you what's next, that you
yeah. I
were
would love to do,
gonna
yeah, I would love to do animation, but I'm tired of using digital tools. However, maybe AI animation. I just got to check because AI generated art is highly controversial, more controversial than the fluency word. Um, but I would consider it if it's only within, like, if I upload these are my comics, it's only me that has access. Nobody else has that, because that's me, that's my thing. It's more of a speed thing rather than get a computer to do it, or better yet, crowdfund. Actually, that's a good point. I'll just crowdfund and hire someone to do it for me. They're a
yeah.
lot more. Why would I? Ugh, I can't be. Can you ask them to remove that? No, 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 no. I don't. There's no need.
Yeah.
The thing was, I had a conversation earlier today about AI's use in the job market, and that's where that idea like the idea, well, I guess I could probably do that, but no, I don't know. Let me think about it because it's not my values to use AI generated art. But yeah, crowdfunding was always the idea. I tried to do crowdfunding in the past. it hasn't gone to the launch stage, but I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. Um, I might do that for the next book. I have dabbled in some cartoons. So on my YouTube channel, you can access it through frankybanky.com, where I made like a draw tune, kind of like the whiteboard videos that were popular a few years back. Where as I draw and then as I talk and the words spell out the dialogue that gets spelled out. I think you know Mark Winsky.
Yeah.
He has a huge TikTok following, so I hired him to voice Frankie Banky, um, where we did a the King's Speech parody. I made a similar one, an animated version of my Star Wars comic. Um, I should do more, especially now since video is so big now.
Yeah.
Um, it's just I really burnt myself out making this book. What happened back in 2014 when I made my first book, I made a second one that was digital only. It's on Gumroad. Again, it's on my Frankie Banky site. That burned me out for 10 years. I couldn't draw
Wow.
still.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please don't tell me I'm gonna wait 10 more years. But I'm getting the itch to draw again, so it should be this summer. I'm just focusing on other things right now, like resting from Draw Your Stutter. That was a book I wanted to draw in a month's time. I was so charged after Stamina Fest. That was last August, I mentioned. I'm like, by October, by International Stuttering Awareness, I'm gonna have it done. But it needed a TLC, so it was finished, I think it was February when I finally finished it. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with writing books for now. So now I'm in the planning stages of this ridiculously silly book, or this plot, and it involves time travel too. So they fight which time they want to go. Frankie Banky and Tiger. So spoiler alert.
All right. So as we're waiting for that book to come out, I'm just going to remind everybody of the latest book, Draw Your Stutter. And we'll probably have it underneath and in the description so you can, the
Sure.
information to get Draw Your Stutter. Yeah. So I think we'll leave it there. And I want to thank you, Daniele, for such an incredibly informative chat.
This was a fun chat. I
It
love
was
it. And
really
I
fun.
learned a
I had
lot,
a good
even from
time.
hearing your feedback about the comps. I'm like, she's right. I never realized that. There's a recurring theme with that. I don't realize things until after. So
Well,
I love hearing feedback because that's what feeds the back. That's what informs me of what's working, what people want, various audiences want. Yeah.
and sometimes you make an impact without even knowing that you do, which is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. Yeah. Okay, we're going to sign off now. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care.